I'm sitting on my balcony just outside a small town about 50 minutes from Boston, the kind of place where the mornings are quiet except for the hum of a neighbor's lawnmower or the occasional delivery truck rattling down the street. It's early April, and I'm holding a cup of espresso, the steam curling up in the crisp air, my phone resting face down on the table. My name's Nicole Warren. I'm 32, and I'm the co-founder of a biotech startup that's been my entire world for the past 6 years. Every morning, I make this espresso, listen to the weather report, and walk a block to my office, where I'm building something that could change lives. Though try explaining that to someone who thinks office job means data entry all day. 2 years ago, I stopped talking to my family, not with a big fight or a dramatic exit, but with a quiet decision to stop being their invisible lifeline. For over a decade, I'd sent thousands of dollars to cover their bills, their emergencies, my sister Claire's endless, fresh starts, all while they praised her every step and barely noticed mine. The day it all broke was when my dad told me not to come to Mom's birthday because my job was too hard to explain next to Claire's new boyfriend, a CFO they wanted to impress. I canceled every payment I'd been making, electricity, water, internet, cable, and let the silence do the talking. Now my phone's buzzing again. Mom, Dad, Claire, probably because the house is dark or the Wi-Fi's gone out, but I'm not answering. I'm sitting here, sipping my espresso, watching the spring buds on the trees across the street. And for the first time in my life, I'm okay with being the one who walked away. If this feels like a story you know, or one you need to hear, stick with me. I'm going to take you through how I found my way out of the shadows. And I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments when we're done. Hit that like button and subscribe for more stories that might just shift the way you see your own life. Let's go back to where it started, to a modest house in a working-class neighborhood just outside Boston, with a chain-link fence and a driveway that always needed repaving. Growing up, we were always one missed paycheck away from trouble. My dad, Frank, was a warehouse supervisor who'd come home exhausted, his hands calloused from moving crates all day. My mom, Ellen, worked part-time as a school secretary, her days a blur of phone calls and paperwork. I was the younger of two girls, always in the background of my sister Claire, who was 3 years older and the family's shining star. Claire was everything I wasn't: beautiful, graceful, soft-spoken, with a charm that drew people in like moths to a flame. In family photos, she was front and center, her smile radiant, her blonde hair catching the light, while I stood off to the side, my dark hair tucked behind my ears, my glasses slipping down my nose, barely a blip in the frame. I was the serious one, the weird younger sister who wore plain jeans and no makeup, always glued to my laptop or scribbling in a notebook. I started working at 16, not for extra cash like my friends, but because I knew if I didn't, we'd be eating rice and beans for a week. I'd ride my bike to a local diner after school, bussing tables and scrubbing dishes until my hands were raw, then pedal home in the dark to finish my homework by flashlight when the power got cut off. Meanwhile, Claire was the family's pride, the one who just needed a little support to find her way. She went to college for a semester, then dropped out to explore her options, which mostly meant working odd jobs: barista, boutique clerk, yoga teacher, and dating guys my parents adored. When she needed a new phone for her freelance marketing gigs, Mom dipped into savings without a second thought, even though we were behind on the water bill. When I got a full scholarship to MIT, all I got was a distracted, "That's nice, Nicole, but can you drive Claire to her audition tomorrow?" I thought that's just how family worked. I was the one who kept things together, the one who paid the electric bill when it was overdue, the one who sent money for Dad's new tires or Mom's dental work. I graduated with a degree in bioengineering, co-founded a biotech startup with 3 college friends, and poured everything I had into building a company that develops affordable diagnostics for underserved communities. It wasn't flashy, but it was real, and I was proud of it. But to my family, my work was a mystery, something they brushed off with a vague, Nicole's doing something in biotech. Every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, the relatives would swarm around Claire, gushing over her latest boyfriend or her new haircut. While I sat quietly, my contributions reduced to a half-hearted, "Oh, Nicole's got a job in Boston, right?" I used to think if I worked hard enough, if I kept giving, one day they'd see me, one day they'd be proud of me the way they were of Claire. But the more I gave, the less they noticed. For years, I sent money without being asked. $600 a month for electricity, water, internet, and cable, plus extra when Mom said the fridge broke down or Claire needed a little help after quitting another job. I kept a spreadsheet, not because I wanted repayment, but because I needed to see the numbers for myself. Over 2 years, it added up to $15,720, money I could have used for a car, a vacation, or just a night out without checking my bank account. There was never a thank you, never a question about how I was holding up, just another request. "Nicole, the mortgage is tight this month. Can you chip in?" I'd send the money, no questions asked, because I thought that's what love looked like. But love shouldn't make you feel like a footnote, should it? It all came crashing down one cold March evening 2 years ago. I just closed a $2 million funding round with a New York investment firm, a deal that kept me up at night with both excitement and pressure. It was a milestone for our startup, proof that our work was making waves. I decided to take 3 days off and head back home for Mom's birthday, like I always did. I wasn't planning anything grand, just helping with the cooking, setting up the dining room, the stuff I'd done since I was a kid. I called to let them know I was coming, expecting Mom's usual distracted, "Okay." Instead, Dad picked up, his voice oddly stiff. "Hey, Dad, I'm coming back early for Mom's birthday," I said, already pulling up my calendar. "Let me know if you need me to grab anything or help prep." There was a long pause, the kind that makes your chest tighten. Then he cleared his throat. "Nicole, if possible, don't come home this year." I froze, my fingers gripping the phone. "What?" I asked, thinking maybe he was worried about my schedule. "I've already cleared my days. I really want to be there." His voice turned sharp, final. "Claire's bringing her new boyfriend, Liam. He's a CFO, well-spoken, successful. Your job, it's hard to explain. If you show up, it'll just invite comparisons, make things awkward. It's better if you stay away." The words hit me like a slap, cold and stinging. I stood in my apartment, the Boston skyline dim outside my window, and felt my world tilt. "Are you saying I'm an embarrassment?" I asked, my voice shaking, barely holding together. "That I shouldn't come home because I make the family look bad?" He didn't soften, didn't take it back. Instead, he doubled down, his tone cutting deeper. "If you insist on coming, don't call me your father." Then he hung up, the line going dead with a click that echoed in my ears. I stood there staring at my phone, my espresso cup cold in my hand. The apartment was silent, the kind of silence that presses against your skin. I didn't cry. I couldn't. I just sank into my armchair by the window, the spring sunlight streaming through the curtains, unable to warm the chill inside me. I wasn't their daughter anymore, not in the way I'd always believed. I was a convenience, a fallback plan, someone to call when the bills piled up, but not someone to welcome at the table. That night I couldn't sleep. Dad's words played on a loop. "Don't call me your father." I thought about all the years I'd spent trying to earn their love. Every dollar sent, every late night at the office, every time I showed up to help, only to be pushed aside for Claire. I opened my laptop, pulled up my banking app, and stared at the automatic payments I'd set up years ago. Electricity, water, internet, cable, all labeled family expenses. I scrolled through the transaction history, the numbers glaring back at me. $15,720 over 2 years, not counting the one-off payments for Claire's marketing courses or Mom's new glasses. My hands trembled as I hovered over each payment, my heart pounding. I clicked cancel on every one, the notifications popping up like quiet affirmations. Auto payment canceled successfully. No alarms, no warnings, just silence. The same silence I'd lived in for years. I closed my laptop, leaned back, and stared out at the night sky, feeling a strange calm settle over me. I wasn't cutting them off out of spite. I was letting go of a role they'd never valued, a role I'd never signed up for. Mom's birthday came and went. I didn't call, didn't send a card, didn't post anything online, not because I wanted to hurt them, but because I couldn't pretend anymore. I spent the day in my apartment, working on a new research proposal, the hum of my laptop the only sound. Around 5 p.m., my phone buzzed. A text from Mom. "Nicole, the power's out. Can you check with the utility company?" Then Dad. "No water, no internet. Call the providers. Your mom's freaking out." And Claire. "The Wi-Fi's down and Liam's family is here. Mom's a mess. Fix this." I stared at the messages, each one a command, not a question, not a hint of concern for me. They didn't mention Dad's call, didn't ask why I wasn't there, didn't even acknowledge that I'd been uninvited. I set my phone down, my hands steady, and let the messages sit unanswered. For the first time in my life, I didn't rush to solve their problems. I sipped my peppermint tea, watched the sunset paint the sky orange, and felt the weight of their expectations slip away like a heavy coat I'd finally shed. The next day, Claire left a voicemail, her voice sharp with anger. "Mom's been crying all night, Nicole. Liam's family was supposed to meet everyone, and the house was a disaster. No power, no water. You knew how important this was. Why are you being so selfish?" I listened to the whole thing, then deleted it. Selfish. The word cut, but it didn't break me. I'd spent years being selfless, giving until I was empty, and all it got me was a seat outside their circle. I turned off my phone and went to work, focusing on a crisis with a public health project worth nearly $2 million. But a few days later, something unexpected happened. I got an email from my assistant, subject line, "New hire confirmation, Liam Prescott, head of finance." My heart skipped a beat. Liam Prescott, Claire's boyfriend, the CFO my parents were so eager to impress, was joining our company, reporting directly to me. I stared at the resume attached. Top-tier MBA, years of experience, a headshot of a man I vaguely remembered meeting at a conference 6 months ago. He called me Miss Warren, shaken my hand and moved on. Neither of us had connected the dots to Claire, but now the irony was almost laughable. The man my family had chosen over me was about to walk into my office, completely unaware that I was the co-founder who'd approved his transfer. When Liam arrived for his first day, I was prepared. He stepped into my office, a folder in hand, his suit crisp, his smile polished. Then he saw me, and his face froze, recognition hitting him like a wave. "Nicole?" he said, his voice barely audible. I nodded, keeping my expression calm. "Welcome to Pacific Genomics, Liam. I'll be overseeing your work on our financial strategy this quarter. Let's get started." He stood there, his confidence crumbling, his eyes darting as the truth sank in. My family had never told him what I did, never mentioned that I co-founded a company pushing the boundaries of healthcare. To them, I was just Nicole who does something in biotech. I didn't bring up the birthday, didn't mention Claire, or the way they'd shut me out. I didn't need to. The truth was already doing its work. That evening, I got a message from Claire, her words spilling across the screen in a frantic jumble. Nicole, you knew Liam was starting at your company, didn't you? Why didn't you say anything? Mom's a wreck and Liam's confused. This is so embarrassing for me. I read it, my espresso cooling on the table, and typed a simple reply. I didn't know until he was hired. I don't mix family with work, Claire. If it's embarrassing, maybe ask yourself why. I hit send and set my phone down, the spring air soft through the open window. I wasn't angry, wasn't gloating. I just felt done. Done trying to prove myself, done chasing their approval, done being the one who fixed everything while they built their lives around Claire. A week later, my Aunt Sharon called, the only family member who still reached out, usually with a quick text at the holidays. I answered, expecting her usual cheerful chatter, but her voice was heavy. Nicole, what happened at your mom's birthday? The house was dark, no water, no internet. Your mom's saying you cut them off without warning. I took a deep breath, keeping my voice steady. Dad told me not to come because my job wasn't impressive enough next to Liam's. He said if I showed up, I wasn't his daughter anymore. So I canceled the payments I'd been making for years. That's not without warning, Aunt Sharon. She was quiet for a long moment, then said softly, I didn't know. I'm so sorry. In the background, I heard Mom's voice, sharp and bitter. She's just being dramatic. No one would do that to their own family. Then Claire. Liam's barely talking to me now. This is all Nicole's fault. Aunt Sharon didn't defend them. She just sighed and said, I'll call you later, okay? When she hung up, I felt a pang, not for them, but for the girl I used to be, the one who thought she could earn their love if she just gave enough. Then came the moment that changed everything. During a company-wide meeting, Liam was presenting our new financial plan, his slides sharp, his voice steady. Halfway through, he paused, looked at me and said, I'd like to give credit to Nicole Warren, our co-founder, whose leadership made this possible. I didn't realize until recently just how much she's accomplished, not just here, but beyond. The room was silent, every eye on me. I nodded, my face calm, but inside my heart was pounding. Liam didn't know the half of it, but his words, spoken in front of my team, my colleagues, felt like a crack in the wall I'd built to protect myself. After the meeting, he approached me, his voice low. Nicole, I'm sorry. I didn't know about your family, about what they did. Claire never told me. I looked at him, my voice even. You don't owe me an apology, Liam. They made their choices, and I've made mine. He nodded, his face tight with regret, and walked away. A month later, I heard through Aunt Sharon that Claire and Liam had broken up. Not because of me, but because Liam saw through the facade. Claire's charm, my parents' fawning, the way they'd built their world around her, while dismissing me. My parents were struggling, the house still at risk of foreclosure, but they didn't reach out again. No apologies, no explanations, just silence. And for the first time, I was okay with that. I'd spent years trying to be their daughter, their fixer, their backup plan, but I was done. I moved on, pouring my energy into my company, my friends, my life. I started running on weekends, the trails near my town clearing my mind with every step. I took up pottery, not because I was any good, but because it felt like a way to shape something new from the pieces I'd carried for too long. I even booked a trip to New Zealand, a dream I'd shelved for years because I was always sending money home. Now, 2 years later, I'm sitting on my balcony, the espresso warm in my hands, the spring air soft against my skin. I've built a life that's mine. Not perfect, but mine. I still wonder sometimes if I was too harsh, if I could have kept the door open without letting them walk all over me. But then I remember the girl who sat in that armchair 2 years ago, her heart breaking as her dad's words echoed, and I know I did what I had to do. Freedom isn't about cutting people out. It's about choosing who gets to share your light. I'm not here to say I have all the answers, or that walking away is always the answer. I'm just sharing my story because I know I'm not the only one who's felt invisible, who's given everything and still felt like nothing. If you've ever been the reliable one, the one who fixes everything but gets no credit, I want you to know you're not alone. And I want you to know it's okay to choose yourself, to set boundaries, to build a life where you're seen for who you are. So what do you think? Was I too cold? Or did I finally learn to love myself the way I deserve? Drop your thoughts in the comments, especially if you've ever had to draw a line with family or felt like you were living in someone else's shadow. If this story hit home, please give it a like and subscribe. We've got more stories coming that might just inspire you to find your own strength. Let's keep this conversation going because sometimes the bravest thing you can do is step out of the shadow and let your own light shine. You've got this, and I'm rooting for you.